Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gents. This is your news roundup for the week so far. So, here's a rundown for this week. Now, we have the Pentagon document leak suspect charged. The suspect, named Jack Teixeira, 21, spoke quietly during his hearing, whispering yes as the judge informed him of his rights as a criminal defendant. An affidavit explains how the leak suspect allegedly took the documents, and retired Lieutenant General explained why individuals behind the leaked Pentagon documents are not mastermind criminals. There is an analysis, however, as to why the 21-year-old's arrest exposes larger classified document problem. Then, as we know, there have been widespread protests in France, which are mainly in the case of raising the retirement age from 62 to 64, which has been very unpopular and has been met with rioting and protests. However, Emmanuel Macron, the current Prime Minister of France, has had a major win in this regard, as top courts have backed his plan to raise that retirement age. Then, world leaders are lining up to meet Xi Jinping, and there is tension that the U.S. should probably be worried about this, as they are disappointed by the Chinese court's decision to uphold a death sentence for an American citizen charged of crimes on Chinese mainland. Aside from this, we do have a further timeline of Russia's war. And another top story for this week are as follows. The South Korean government having a plan to lure out lonely young people out of hiding with a program of providing them $500 a month to bring them back into society. Then a female bear that killed a jogger has received a stay of execution in Italy. Then there's an opinion piece on the battle for Bakhmut exposing Russia's meat grinder. There will be more evidence there. I will be expanding on this later. Then, in terms of the United States mainland, you have Ron DeSantis, Florida governor, defying national abortion settlements within signing of a 6-week ban. And there is a further analysis on as to why DeSantis isn't putting abortion front and center despite the new ban. And in sports news, Novak Djokovic has suffered a major loss. So, here are the facts about the invasion of the Ukraine. In 2022, Russia announced a full-fledged invasion to take back the Ukraine, as it believed that the Ukraine belonged to Russia. This claim has been made over and over again by Vladimir Putin, and the map that you are seeing as of now is an accurate, or as possible as an accurate representation of what the ground situation is like in Ukraine as of the beginning of the conflict on the 24th of February 2022. That conflict is still ongoing today and has been met with severe condemnation directed towards Russia on the international level by multiple countries that are standing against Russia. And to this very end, an arrest warrant was actually put out by the International Criminal Courts against Vladimir Putin for war crimes in Ukraine and for child endangerment in this regard. The developments in the Ukraine have also begun to show signs of stress and actual panic and anxiety within the Kremlin. Putin just under half an hour ago approving a new system that makes draft dodging harder for Russians. So, President Vladimir Putin signed a law Friday creating an electronic conscription registry that aims to make draft dodging harder in Russia. The new system will deliver military call-up papers to a state government portal called the Gos-Uslugi. Once the summons appears in the portal, it will be considered delivered. Previously, draft letters were only considered to be valid when they were physically presented and then signed for. This new law allows for any draftee ignoring an online summons to be legally declared a fugitive after an entire week, banned from leaving Russia, and having their assets frozen completely. Now, during Russia's partial mobilization in past September, men dodged the draft by leaving their registered addresses, not signing for the letters, and warning their family and co-workers from doing the same for them. The Russian parliament approved law making the country's conscription program more efficient and harder to evade on Wednesday, spurring fears that more citizens may soon be mobilized to fight in the Ukraine. The Kremlin, meanwhile, characterized the law as an unremarkable streamlining of Russia's biannual conscription process. However, CNN did speak to a number of Russians who dismissed the Kremlin's reassurances and say the move lays the groundwork for another attempt to force Russians onto the battlefields in Ukraine. A 41-year-old lawyer from Moscow told CNN, stating that he does not believe a word of it, does not believe a single word of this. I read it once again. This is a lawyer stating that he does not believe anything that his own government is saying. Though not in the official age range for mobilization, he does not expect the Kremlin to stick to its own guidelines when calling up recruits. Now, it will be much easier to mobilize me given how digitalized life in Moscow has become, this lawyer has been purported to say. A 25-year-old Russian named Artem dodged the September mobilization attempt despite receiving a call-up. He has been quoted to say this may as well be an attempt to avoid the full-scale manhunt they employed before, which caused so much panic. Now, according to articles from CNN, there have been some major developments on the ground. One major update coming about 6.5 hours ago. According to the Washington Post, the Russian special forces have been gutted by the war in Ukraine, according to leaked classified documents. So, the article states that Russia's Spetsnaz special forces have been gutted by President Vladimir Putin's war in Ukraine, the Washington Post reported Friday, citing more classified U.S. intelligence documents leaked online, which have become the case for new controversy. Now, CNN has explicitly stated that they have not had a chance to review the documents and therefore cannot verify the content, but the Washington Post reports that the documents, which were obtained through the Discord social media platform, reference an intelligence intercept which assessed that 346th Spetsnaz Brigade has lost almost its entire unit, with 125 personnel active out of 900 deployed. U.S. officials believe that the large numbers of casualties that Russia has sustained will have a dramatic effect in its efforts in Ukraine and anywhere else its forces are and may be operating. And U.S. officials believe that the highly trained forces will need up to a decade to be replenished, as the Washington Post reports. It also published satellite imagery from the leaked documents that, though not conclusive, suggests a depletion of vehicles among the 22nd Separate Spetsnaz Brigade's motor pool in southwestern Russia. The images show a contrast in the size of its motor pool between November 2021 and November 2022. The later date, the Post reports, shows the force following its return from Ukraine last summer. CNN has contacted the Pentagon for comment and has also contacted the Russian Ministry of Defense. But, according to Ukrainian officials, Russian special forces are currently deployed in the eastern city of Bakhmut, where the fiercest and heaviest fighting is currently being waged. In online circles, the fighting in Bakhmut has been likened to the battle for Stalingrad that was one of the bloodiest conflicts in the Second World War. So, according to Ukraine's Deputy Defense Minister, Hanna Maliar, stating Thursday that despite the fact that the enemy has concentrated its most professional units in Bakhmut, including Wagner fighters, airborne assault units, and special forces, the Russians cannot achieve their goals there. Here is a little more background to this. So, the Spetsnaz were poorly deployed early in the invasion, especially around Kiev, and took heavy losses. In the early days of the war, it was reported that the Russian airborne forces engaged in a firefight with Ukrainian forces at Antonov Airport in Hostomel, a suburb of Kiev, before they were heavily defeated and retreated by the beginning of April. CNN has also previously reported how the Russian invasion has been marked by an inordinate number of casualties among high-ranking officers. In the first couple months of 2023, CNN also managed to report how Russian forces were badly hit in the hotly contested town of Volodar in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region, where the 155th Marine Brigade were prominently involved. At least 24 Russian tanks and infantry vehicles were disabled or destroyed in a matter of days, according to videos which were released by the Ukrainian military and analyzed by CNN and military experts. Now, this concludes our news roundup for the week. I will be sure to keep you all updated when more developments come in, as soon as they come in, as soon as I am able to access said developments. I will be keeping them coming, specifically when it comes to the rioting in France or the Ukraine war. Whatever it may be, whatever conflicts or problems that are affecting the world stage as of now, I will be covering them as updates come in and as soon as I am able to access them. Until then, I hope you have a good day. Please share the video, like it, subscribe, leave a comment with your thoughts, and with that, I will see you next time.